Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Compressor Diving Pro Geographic. You can see this multifunction titanium sports watch on our website, watchyouwant.com. Purchase it there, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. You can also click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the video at any time to see our full listing for this watch, with additional high-res images, and of course, complete pricing details. Now, on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can already tell this isn't so much an apex predator of the underwater world as it is an outright sea monster. 20 millimeters thick. It's nominally 46.5 millimeters across the round of the case, but it's hard to find any two diagonal points that are less than 50 millimeters across. Now, in terms of lug to lug, it is big, it is broad. 55 millimeters from lug to lug, but even that doesn't state the full scope of this watch, because if you were to measure the rigid outermost outcropping of the end links of the bracelet, you wind up with a 60 millimeter span. That's right, this watch has the kind of wrist presence normally reserved for the likes of Hublot King Power at the 48 millimeter case size, or something like the rare Shaq and Arnold themed 48 millimeter Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshores. It's in that grade of watch in terms of wrist presence. I will say though that entirely in titanium, this 2007 model year debut is very light on the wrist, and it's also matched by Jaeger-LeCoultre's Cadillac of bracelets. Now, this watch was available on straps of various descriptions, a bare titanium bracelet, and what we have here, the most deluxe option, a titanium articulated rubber wrapped bracelet. Now you can see that each individual link is removable for precise sizing, and underneath each rubber wrapped surface is a fully formed titanium bracelet piece. So it's not a rubber strap and it's not a rubber bracelet. It's a unique hybrid that has the supple feel of rubber against the skin, so the souplesse of a strap, but it has the breathability of a bracelet and the durability of a bracelet. And again, because these watches have now been on the market for approximately a decade, we've learned that initial concerns about how this rubber would age were completely unfounded. It aged aces, and of course that's probably exactly what you'd expect from JLC, in as much as they built the case, the movement, and the bracelet to boot. Now, speaking of the bracelet, it has a superb double deployant clasp. Now, twin trigger actuated, this architecture first appeared on the Reverso Grand Sports of the late 1990s, and each individual side features a micrometric adjustment, 2.5 millimeters on each side for quick on-the-fly adjustability without the intervention of a jeweler's tool. Now, naturally, when closed, very secure. Also very low in profile. It doesn't have the bulk of a Rolex Oyster clasp. And what's nice is that with 4 triggers, you really do need positive release to open it up. It can't pop open by accident. Beautifully finished and arguably over-engineered with all the features baked in. Now, the nice thing about the watch is it's exactly the same as the bracelet and the clasp. Over-engineered, possibly to a fault. The mechanical depth gauge, which you can actually test by actuating it with your finger, is based on the same system used on the IWC series of Deep 1, 2, 3 watches. So a little bit of JLC borrowing from its sister firm within Richemont. The watch features far more than just the mechanical depth gauge, in as much as it's also 300 meters water resistant. So while the most recent versions of the IWC Deep 3 actually discourage deep diving, claiming that the limits of amateur capabilities are actually the limits of the depth gauge itself, this one's not afraid to dive all the way down to almost 1,000 feet. So, while you probably won't need the capability, luxury is about getting more than you need. Now, one interesting feature of this watch is that it combines JLC's signature geographic function, and you can see the chapter ring at 6 o'clock, with a comprehensive, what might be described as adventure watch suite of features. You've got the diving mechanical depth meter, you've got the diving capability, the unidirectional rotating dive bezel, you've got the jump date, you've got the ability to adjust the reference city, and I'll show you how that works, at 6 o'clock. Now, I'm in Miami, so I have it set for New York. You can see the reference subdial, the 24-hour time scale, is right here at 9 o'clock. And as you actually adjust the reference city, let's go to LA for instance, you can see how the reference time adjusts automatically, effectively doing the math so you don't have to do the math. Now, there is a second crown that has an intermediate setting position such that you can, if you want, adjust all times in sync, local time and reference time, or if you prefer, you can adjust the local time independently of the reference time, and you can see how the local time hand also drives the date. Now, what's nice is that the watch has tremendous depth, and this is where, in spite of that wrist presence that I said was akin to Hublot or the largest of the AP offshores, the watch is really more purposeful than those because everything you see is functionally relevant. While perhaps technically overkill, the watch is incredibly legible. All of the functions, from the geographic function to the mechanical depth gauge, are pretty common sense in their function. There's really no watch literacy required to jump straight into this watch and exploit all of its capabilities right off the bat. Now, inside the case is Jaeger-LeCoultre's caliber 979, which is based on the ultra-tough auto-tractor movement, meaning it has a full balance bridge for stability in cases of shock or disruption on the wrist. Also a free sprung balance, again, for further resistance to shock-induced timing variation. It has a 48-hour power reserve and a super efficient unidirectional winding system, more efficient than bidirectional as per objective tests on the wrist conducted by JLC, but also with unlubricated ceramic bearings to extend overhaul intervals and also ensure that every last bit of efficiency potential is realized by the winding system. Now, it has a hairspring that's actually laser welded at the stud and the collet for even more stability and shock resistance. So you have a tank-tough movement inside a tank-tough case with what is frankly an interesting conversation piece and quite a novelty in the mechanical depth gauge, but a very functional and very useful geographic world time function. This is a watch that packs way more than you need, but you know what? Like I said, that's the definition of luxury, and being that it is from Jaeger-LeCoultre, everything is engineered to the extreme. This is, quite frankly, one of the greatest summertime adventure watches you could possibly put on your wrist, provided you've got the wrist to pull it off. You can see it and you can buy it on our website, watchyouwant.com.